I wanted to share with the EPLAN forum community a method that I'm using for wire numbering for wires connected to a distribution terminal block. So what I want is the wire number to be driven by the page and row of the device that's connected on the other end. So let me show what I mean. Insert device. I've got this Phoenix contact distribution terminal block, so I'm going to go ahead and place it right here. So usually with this device, I use this device for, it would be connected to a circuit breaker that brings plus 24 volt DC, and then I use this device to distribute that plus 24 volt DC to the devices in the panel that need it. But for troubleshooting purposes, I want to make sure that there's unique wire numbers on all of these connections. And the wire numbers are driven by what's on the other end. So I have some devices already in this project. I have this black box right here, and I'm gonna grab these interruption points and put them in right there. And then I'm gonna go to this panel and delete these pre-existing wire numbers. I'm gonna grab this guy and put them in right there. And then I'm just gonna put in a couple of random push buttons directly on this page right here and right here, let's say. All right, so next I want to place, project data, connections numbering place. Okay, so I've got these placed, and then number. All right. So right now this is using just the general numbering scheme that's using the page and row of the source. And the way EPLAN logic interprets the source and target is what's earlier. So it's going to use the earlier page or the earlier path if it's on the same page. So in this case, these interruption points, you see they're pointing to page 1. So these wire numbers are driven by the source that's on page 1. So page 1, row 1, page 1, row 2, page 1, row 3. Over on this side, however, the source is this distribution terminal block. So you see the interruption points are going to page 4. The source is this device here. So the source is on this page. So it starts with this page's number and then the row that this is on. So if I do this, for example, and connect another one, so now I've got a wire here and a wire here that are on the same row. So if I run that again, first of all, I'm gonna connections numbering place, so that added, and then connections numbering enter. So now I've even got a counter here because these are on the same row. This is what I don't want. I want to have all of these numbers be driven by what's on the other end. I really think that it helps in troubleshooting to know what's connected on the other side. So the idea that I implement to do this is first I want to assign a block property to every one of these connection definition points that are going to grab the page and the row of what's on the other end of this connection definition point. So let's do that. Let's come over here, say block property, and I want to select target via connection point and target number. So when I do that, it's actually already shown me the other device. I got to go connection point number 1 and select next level. And that puts me on of the device U0100 that's on page 1. So I'm going to open up on this plus sign, grab the general function, and say give me page name. So I don't want the page name full. In this project I don't have structures in the page name, but if I did, all of those structures, like for example document type, mounting location, etc., would be here. I don't want all that. I just want the number. So I'm going to grab the page name. I'm going to say 2 is the minimum number of digits. And then again here, give me a row number. Row number 2 digits. Okay. So apply. So the block property is already applied. So let me go to the display and just go ahead and display that block property on the connection point definition. So now I want to take this block property format and copy it to all of the rest of these connection definition points on the device. I'm going to copy them to all of this stuff. Say properties, block property format, paste it in here, apply, okay, and then I'm going to copy the display format. I'm going to say copy and assign. So there we go. So now all of these have a block property that grabs the page and the row of the device that's on the other side. Now I'll update my connections to see what's going on. Okay, so now I need to set up a wiring scheme where the wiring scheme is actually going to grab the this block property. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say new, and I'm going to select device. And here's my distribution terminal block. I'm going to select this device. Extent, I want signal. And the format element, I want data of the object on which the connection group is based. Page name. Oops. Name. Okay, sorry. I'm repeating. I don't want the page name. I've already gone through all this. I want the block property. Block property. There we go. And I like to put really my voltage stuff. I want to put data of the potential on this as well. So I'm going to say name of the potential. Okay. So one last thing is I need to bump this up, make sure it's above the general connections. So you want to set your general connections to the last thing. So if you have some special wire numbering schemes, you want to run those before you run the general connections. Let's apply. Okay. And then I'm going to run my wire numbers. All right, let's look at this. So on both sides now, this side and this side, the wire numbers are actually matching what we see in this block property. And we see, like, for example, these three here, the interruption point is pointed to page 4, row 2, and the wire number is actually based off of that. So this format is forcing these wire numbers to be what's on the other end of these connection definition points, the device connection points. Sorry. Okay. Now let's just quickly add potential definition point right there. I'm going to call this one V+. And project data connections, numbering, error designation. So I added V+ to all of these. Okay, now what happens if I take this circuit, I'm going to cut it and put it on this page 3. So press XY to put it in the same location. And now what I want to do, it's on a different page. I want to run my renumbering. What page am I? Sorry, I put it back on the same page. I wanted to go to page 3. Page 3. Here we go. Page 3. Now, Control V, and then XY, place and number. All right, there we go. So all of these devices are now renumbered with page 3. So let's run our numbering schemes and see what happens. Okay, so what happened here is that we actually lost the scheme that we set up. So even though these things look right, it's deceiving because it just so happens that the scheme that we ran and this general scheme for stuff that lands on the left side of this, because it's coming from devices that are earlier, like earlier page or in the earlier part of the path, the page path. But here's where we ran into an issue. We come over here. It's now treating this as the source. Again, it's just using the general scheme now, not that special scheme you grabbing the block property that we set up. Let me update this. See, like this should be 0402, but it's 0315. So the reason for that is when I set up my scheme, to set it up specifically for this device is DTB0208, which doesn't exist anymore. I deleted it and moved it and renumbered it on a different page. So we got to set up something that is more global, basically. I want everything, like when I use devices like this in the project, I want all of them to use this scheme that's going to grab this block property. So I'm going to say new here, and I'm going to say device again. But this time I'm going to get rid of the stuff here, and I'm going to get rid of the counter. And just say DTB. Just leave DTB in the value. Signal state, and I'm just going to repeat the process where I'm going to want to block property. And then I want the data of the potential. I want name of the potential. And okay, I'm going to push this up above the general connections. I can delete that. I don't care about that anymore. Okay. Alright, so now let's see what happens. Connections, numbering, header designation. Okay, so we got our scheme back. So let's make a copy of this and put it on the previous page too. And now what I want to do is I want to go to this page 4 here. I'm going to copy. I'll take this device here. And I'm just going to put 2 of these guys. Okay, this is, I'm going to say like 7, 8, 9. I'm going to grab all these guys here. Going to come back to page 2. And I'm just going to put them down right there. Update my connections. So I see all the stuff in the block property format. Let's connections numbering. Oops, I forgot to place. Connections, numbering, place. Connections, numbering, enter designation. All right. I got what I want here. Block property matches, and the scheme is covering all my devices that have DTB in them. So I'm now ready. Basically, I've kind of tested the concept. I'm ready to go into my macro project and add this block property format to the device in my macro project, and then link that macro to the device in the catalog, the parts database catalog. All right, thank you guys.